Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you've watched any K-drama or film in the last few years, you've you've likely seen an actress who specializes in inhabiting characters who are, well, for lack of a better word, incomplete.
You're talking about Lee Yumi?
Exactly. She has this incredible ability to portray profound fragility while at the same time holding this quiet, almost unsettling power.
It's a very, very specific kind of artistry. Her characters often feel like they've been withered down by life, but they still leave this deep, faint ache with you.
They really do. And today, we're drilling down into her intense, very methodical preparation for one of her most difficult roles.
Hisu, in the Netflix series, As You Stood By, the victim of domestic violence.
That is precisely our mission. We want to move beyond just, reviewing the performance. We want to understand the philosophy behind it.
This system of radical empathy she has.
And this thing she calls subtraction. How did she ethically and accurately embody a character who has been, essentially erased by abuse? What does it even take to earn the right to tell a story that dark?
It is a phenomenal case study because her preparation was guided, first and foremost, by the sense of ethical responsibility.
Right.
It wasn't just about getting the lines right or, making the tears flow. It was about internalizing a profound experience that she herself had never, ever faced.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start right at the beginning with the core conflict. When anyone reads a script involving domestic violence, the immediate question that pops up is, why didn't she run?
And that was Lee Yumi's honest initial reaction to the script. That was her first thought.
The same as anyone else.
Exactly. But instead of using that as a premise for her performance, she used it as a starting point for a deep inquiry. That question, why didn't she run? It very quickly turned into a much heavier ethical one.
Which was?
Do I have the right to express this suffering? Do I truly understand it well enough to not disrespect the reality of real victims?
Wow, that shift is monumental. It's a recognition that caution and humility had to drive the work.
Absolutely.
So how did she get past that initial judgment? Judging the character's inability to escape and start building the foundation to understand that prison.
Well, she concluded that the only way to portray the present was to fully, and I mean fully, reconstruct the past.
So Hisu isn't just a victim.
No. She was once a happy, promising young woman who genuinely loved her husband, Jinpyo. The tragedy is that the love itself is what turned into a cage.
So the key was to make the audience and herself believe in the marriage before it all collapsed.
Precisely. And they took this process very seriously. Lee Yumi and her co-star, Jang Singjo, spent an entire day together.
Doing what?
Shooting couple photos, wedding photos, just behaving as if they were a genuinely happy in love couple. They weren't just rehearsing lines. They were physically creating a bank of shared positive memories for their characters.
That is a fascinating, almost cinematic level of commitment to a psychological backstory. So how did immersing herself in that fictional joy, how did that inform the pain she had to play later?
It made the fracture mathematically worse. By internalizing that past happiness, she unlocked the psychological reality of Hisu's present.
Okay.
She realized that the violence didn't start with a big explosion. It likely started slowly, maybe just once or twice, and each time Jinpyo would have promised it wouldn't happen again.
And Hisu, loving him and believing in the life they'd built, she would have believed those promises.
Which is how the cycle takes hold. She concluded that the true powerlessness didn't come from a lack of physical opportunity to leave. Not at first.
It was internal.
It was the internal conflict of wanting to believe the man she loved, combined with the shame and fear that just grew with every single broken promise. The relationship itself, that became the prison that was Jinpyo.
That realization, it moves the role from being just a physical portrayal of trauma to a profound psychological one. She's playing a state of confusion, not just fear.
It transforms the role completely. It's why you feel that deep ache we mentioned, because you realize the character isn't just grieving her body, she's grieving this beautiful past that was betrayed.
So if the mental prep was about building a past, what did she do to convey the physical reality of the present? This brings us to her core methodological concept, the art of subtraction.
Right.
And this wasn't just losing weight, it was a complete visual erasure.
It was a very conscious decision to remove everything that suggested vitality or personal choice. And yes, the physical commitment was staggering. The source material notes that she went from a baseline of 42 kilograms down to 36.
36 kilograms. That's an extreme physical transformation. What was the specific reason for that, beyond just looking physically weakened.
It was directly tied to the idea that Hisu had no lingering attachment to food. Her life was so controlled and her spirit so withered that, the physical need for nourishment just became secondary.
I see.
The severe weight loss allowed her body language to change naturally. Her posture, her energy, even her voice. It all conveyed a person who has internalized their own devaluation. She was subtracting the physical weight of her self-worth.
And that connects to the broader visual techniques, this whole idea of subtraction. What did that look like day to day on set?
She wanted her appearance to be as colorless as possible, so that meant eliminating saturation, dull, minimal makeup. She specifically mentioned not even using lip balm.
No lip balm.
No, to make sure her lips lacked any hint of natural, healthy color.
Yeah.
It was all about visual negation, making it clear that Hisu was a person whose environment entirely dictated her existence.
And the domestic environment they created, which she treated as a literal prison, reflected this control. There's a fascinating little detail about her behavior while eating.
It's one of the most powerful nonverbal details in the entire series.
Tell us.
Even when Hisu's just eating a simple meal, she perfectly aligns her spoon and her cup, every piece of flatware, to follow Jinpao's set order.
Wow.
This obsessive rigidity, this forced precision in a mundane task, is the visual language of absolute psychological control. She had no agency, not even over where she placed her own spoon.
It tells the whole story in 5 seconds. If you control someone's appetite, you control their spirit. If you control their spoon, you control their mind.
And that visual language also informed the character's arc, which is crucial. Her methodology used color as a marker of transformation. Her life with Jinpyo was, an emotional grayscale. The subtraction of color was necessary to show the depth of the loss.
So the slow, painstaking return of even a little saturation, a touch of color in a scarf, a hint of life in her face, that became a narrative shortcut for her reclaiming her strength.
Exactly. It shows that the subtraction was temporary, it was a tool to demonstrate the depth of the character's devastation, and it all ties back to a note the director gave her, which was very important to her.
What was the note?
Hisu is fragile, but she has a strong core, just like you. The subtraction wasn't a permanent state, it was the depth of her descent before that core strength could resurface.
That makes the struggle that follows so much more profound. But embodying this level of devastation, especially the violence, it must take an immense emotional toll. Let's transition to the scene that seems to have extracted the highest emotional cost.
The moment of desired revenge.
Yes. We're talking about the scene where Hisu finally strikes Jinpyo's head with a snow globe, the culmination of everything.
Right. Lee Yumi admitted that when she read that in the script, she thought the scene would feel like catharsis, a moment of profound liberation.
The moment where the victim fights back. It's what the audience expects to bring some sense of release.
But the reality of performing it was the complete opposite. She described the actual act not as cathartic, but as exhausting and primal. She said that once the cameras rolled, there was only a scream left in me.
Just a scream.
It was the day she released the most energy, not in strength, but in sheer agonizing release. The violence didn't bring peace, it just brought exhaustion and a scream that embodied all that stored up frustration.
That emotional dissonance, the gap between the expected catharsis and the reality of just exhaustion, is such a key insight into the brutal nature of trauma.
It really is.
It shows that violence, even when it feels justified, doesn't necessarily heal.
And this realization led to a really powerful post-scene reflection. After filming this explosive scene, she reflected that she wished she had told him to apologize instead of cursing. She wished she could have just said one word to him.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just that, from him. It shows the character's desire for human recognition, not just vengeance.
That speaks volumes. And for her to access that level of emotional truth, especially in such an intense scene, she must have needed some kind of external support.
Well, what's fascinating here is the acknowledgement of the infrastructure that's needed for actors in these kinds of extreme roles.
Right.
She shared that a professional counselor was present on set throughout the filming, specifically because of the intensity of the subject matter.
The whole time.
The whole time. And that external professional support system made her feel safe enough to truly commit. She felt she could give more of herself, go deeper without fearing the personal, lasting consequences.
That raises a really important question for the industry about duty of care, doesn't it?
Hmm.
It's a necessary boundary that lets the actor commit radically to the performance without letting the character's trauma become their own.
Absolutely. That support is what allows an actor to pursue radical empathy without an unsustainable personal cost.
And she clearly didn't operate in a vacuum. I mean, beyond the professional support, the sources highlight the synergy with her co-stars. That must have acted as a necessary counterweight to all the darkness.
Oh, for sure. The collaboration with Jang Seung-jo, who played Jin Pyo, was intense. He suggested a lot of ideas, creating this very dynamic, often terrifying on-screen relationship. But it was her relationship with Jeon Soni, who played her friend In-soo.
The friend who helps her begin to reclaim her life.
Yes. Lee Yumi described her as being like Eun-soo in real life, honest, unpretentious. She provided this cozy feeling of real-life trust that was just essential when she was immersed in such dark material every day.
The fictional prison and the real-life lifeboat.
Exactly.
And through this whole process, she felt a profound personal transformation that mirrored the character's journey. She actually felt she grew stronger alongside Hee-soo.
That's the real reward of such demanding work, isn't it? She felt she gained faith in herself and learned, through Hee-soo, that even if you feel you have lost everything, your color, your spirit, your body, you can genuinely fill yourself back up again. The character's journey became a form of strength training for her.
And this career trajectory, this deep commitment, it comes after a stunning run of success for her. I mean, Squid Game and All of Us Are Dead back-to-back in 2021.
She's established now. But that success brings a different kind of burden.
A new pressure.
It does. She admits that acting is still fun, but the fun and the pressure feel equal now. The success has raised the stakes. There's a new level of expectation that weighs on every choice she makes.
But she doesn't seem to be shrinking from it. In fact, it sounds like she's using it.
She views pressure as a good driving force. It motivates her to maintain the high standards she's set for herself in roles like Hee-soo. It ensures she stays focused on delivering truthfulness, even when it's uncomfortable.
She carries the pride of a veteran.
She does. And her enduring ambition is simple. She just wants to be an actress who always makes people curious about what she's doing next.
So what does this all mean for us today? We've taken a deep dive into an acting methodology driven not by fame, but by profound ethical inquiry and radical preparation. Her ability to portray these fragile characters who leave such a mark, it comes from her willingness to perform this radical subtraction,
This physical and psychological emptying.
only to better demonstrate the eventual, painful, and earned reclamation of the human spirit.
It's a masterclass in committed performance. And if we connect this methodology to what she says she wants to do in the future, it raises a really provocative final thought.
Okay.
We've seen the extraordinary length, the 36 kilograms, the intentional grayscale, the on-set counseling that she undertakes to portray these severely damaged, extraordinary characters. But she recently said she wants to play a character closer to her own age, someone every day, someone, in her words, like me.
The mundane.
Exactly. So if the art of subtraction and this extreme commitment to truth is mastered for the extraordinary role, how might that deep, rigorous preparation apply when an actor has to find the profound, subtle truth, the extraordinary depth in the simple, mundane life of an average person? That is a fascinating challenge for an artist who is specialized in the extreme.